Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a process that's as fundamental to life as birth, but one we rarely talk about. What happens to the human body after death? You know, this isn't really an end. It's more like nature's ultimate act of recycling. And we're going to follow that entire fascinating journey from start to finish.
So here's our roadmap. We'll start with the two main engines that drive this whole thing. Then we'll walk through the first 48 hours, see what happens when microbes take over, witness the great decay, and finally, watch the return to the elements.
So how does this all kick off? Well, think of it like a city that suddenly loses power. Everything just stops. And right away, two things start happening at once. First, you've got autolysis. That's an internal job. The body's own enzymes basically get released and start breaking down cells from the inside out. At the exact same time, you have putrefaction, which is an external attack, where microbes start breaking down tissues.
All right, Section 1, the first 48 hours. This part is all about the silent transformation happening on the inside.
So let's talk about autolysis, because it's the first domino to fall. The second the heart stops, oxygen is no longer delivered to the cells. And without oxygen, cells can't make their energy currency, a molecule called ATP. It's a chain reaction. No energy means the cell membranes weaken and break down. And when they do, these powerful digestive enzymes, the same ones that helped us in life, spill out and begin digesting the cell itself. It's this quiet internal demolition, starting first in enzyme-rich places like the liver.
So, this internal process leads to something you've almost definitely heard of, rigor mortis. We all know it makes the body stiff, but what's actually going on biologically to cause that? The answer is pretty interesting. Okay, so here's the key. Muscle stiffness isn't really an action. It's the failure to relax. See, in life, your muscles use energy to both contract and then release. But after death, those failing cell membranes let calcium flood into the muscle cells, which makes them all contract. But here's the kicker. There's no new energy, no ATP to power the release step. So the muscle fibers get stuck in that contracted state. They're locked. And that is rigor mortis.
Now, while all that muscle locking is happening, something else is going on called livor mortis. Since the heart isn't pumping anymore, gravity just takes over. It pulls the heavy, deoxygenated blood down to whatever part of the body is lowest. This creates that bluish-purple discoloration you might see. But more importantly, it concentrates all those nutrients in the blood into specific areas, essentially setting the dinner table for the microbial army that's on its way.
And that brings us to Section 2, the microbial takeover. This is where putrefaction really kicks into high gear, and the process becomes a whole lot more active.
With the immune system officially offline, the gates are wide open. All those trillions of bacteria that lived inside our gut, the ones that were our partners in life, are now free to roam. They migrate out of the intestines and start to consume the surrounding tissue. This internal crew, along with microbes from the outside environment, becomes the main engine driving putrefaction.
Now, as this huge army of microbes feasts on the body's tissues, they do what all living things do. They produce waste. And in this case, a very significant byproduct is gas. This one simple biological fact leads directly to one of the most dramatic stages of decomposition.
Right. So as these bacteria work, they release a whole cocktail of gases: methane, hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide. This gas gets trapped inside the body's cavities and it has nowhere to go. The result is that the body begins to swell up significantly. This is the bloating stage. And those sulfur compounds? That's what causes the very strong, very distinct odor of decomposition.
Okay, Section 3, the Great Decay. Now we're around day 5, and things really accelerate as the body starts interacting with the outside world. It becomes a full-blown ecosystem in action.
This is where you see this incredible shift. Decomposition isn't just an internal chemical process anymore. It's now the foundation of a temporary but very busy ecosystem. Those gases we talked about, they act like a dinner bell, attracting insects. Then eventually, the gas pressure builds up so much that the skin ruptures. This is a game changer because it exposes a huge amount of tissue to the environment, and the rate of decay just skyrockets, leading to this phase of rapid consumption before things start to dry out. And that leads us to Section 4, return to the elements. We're in the final stages now, And the path from here is really determined by one critical factor: the environment itself.
So it all comes down to moisture. It's the key variable. In a very dry environment, the body just dries out. This actually slows down the bacteria and leaves behind only the most durable parts, bone, cartilage, hair. But if it's a damp environment, the soft tissues can hang on for much, much longer, which extends the whole process.
So when you lay out the entire journey on a timeline like this, you can really appreciate the elegant logic of it all. It starts inside, quietly. Then it erupts into this flurry of external activity, driven by microbes and insects. And finally, as the resources get used up, the activity slows way down until only the simplest elements are left. It really is a perfect arc of construction and deconstruction.
Which, of course, brings us back to that big question. After seeing all this, is death really an end, or is it a transformation? Well, the science shows us it's an incredibly powerful and, frankly, essential transformation. It is the moment a single complex life form is given back, broken down into its fundamental building blocks, so that it can provide for countless new lives. In a way, it's the final, and maybe the most generous act of reconnecting with the world.